Many people. Okay, can anyone tell me what happened to Tenzin? Tenzin is there, right? Actually, his name is not present in the attendance list also. I think Ansari, Salim Ansari was this there. So I need to confirm and to just ask you what is his roll number, because his roll number is also absent, like from
Ma'am,
my. Yes,
ma'am, 14.
14. And
Yes, ma'am.
no one is there, like Salim Ansari or something like that. 7.
No, ma'am. Salim Ansari, Dipankar Bora is not there.
No, Dipankar name is not there, but Salim Ansari's name is there, and also Tenzin's name is missing. So I don't know. That is why I'm asking
Oh,
you.
Salim Ansari is not there, but Tenzin's roll number is 14.
Okay, okay, okay. So let's start the class now. So yesterday we started with the cloud migration chapter. So where we discussed what is a cloud migration. So we know that cloud migration is basically nothing, putting an enterprise application into a cloud. Okay, if we have an enterprise application, if we move it to the cloud, then it is known as the cloud migration. So where we studied that something, a 7-step cloud model also, where the first model was the SS1, where we do the assessment of the issues, where we do the assessment of the issues, what are the problems are there if we move to the cloud, then what are the these things and what changes need to be, how it will affect the code in the design if we move it to the cloud is decided. This assessment is done in the first phase, that is the assessment phase. Moving, we have moved to the isolation phase, where isolation means when when any application is present in any physical device, whether it is having any dependencies or not, like whether any other software will get affected if we move the application into the cloud. So all this, if it does this, then we need to isolate those dependencies. Later we need to map it. So we need to map, like what are the things, what are the applications that needs to be placed inside the data center, and what should be kept in the data center, and what are the things that needs to be kept inside the cloud. So that is known as the mapping. Next is re-architect. So when we move our application into the cloud, then what happens, some of the functionalities get lost. Okay, maybe a code is changed, so that is why we need to change our architecture. Okay, so for because there a code or coding or design part, we need to modify it. Okay, so that is the for like in that case, some of the functionalities of the application gets lost. Okay, next is the argument. So you people have a confusion about the architect and re-architect and argument. So basically, like Krishna said yesterday, these two things mean the same thing, but there is one difference, that is re-architect means only those features that is a lost functionalities get remodeled, or remodeled, right? We need to change the architecture because that some architecture, some functionality got lost. But augment means the same thing, but here we'll add more functionalities to it. Okay, re-architect, the difference is that re-architect we add the lost functionality, and augment means we can add the more features to the application. Next, when the it is everything is implemented, we go for the testing of the cloud, whether everything is working properly after the after your application has been migrated, whether it is working properly or not. And after that, we go for this step is a basically iterative process. Iterative. So once it is, if we keeps on moving, iterating, and once we find any problem, we resolve it and we optimize the solution. So that is why this is the 7-step cloud model. Okay, next we move to the broad approaches for cloud migration. So today we are going to check what are the cloud migration approaches are there. So first is the we have 3 approaches for this one: lift and shift, refactor and re-architect, or you can also say it as refactor, and also shelve and spend. Shelve and spend is also known as the modernization. Okay, so this, what does this lift and shift means? So basically this thing, like, it will mean the exact replication of the like software in the cloud. Okay, so what happens is, whatever in-house in-house application you have like you have in the physical device, that entire, like, exactly same thing, the replica will be put inside the cloud. Nothing will be changed. There is no change made to the code or the design of the application. So basically it involves lesser time and cost and complexity when compared to the other methods, like but what happens is, when you move the exact replica, you cannot take advantages of the cloud, of the, like, all the capabilities that a cloud has. So here I have given you an example here. Just you think, suppose we have a company has a front end application which needs 4 CPU, 64 GB of RAM, and 502 GB of local storage. So exactly same thing, that same configuration needs to be matched in the cloud itself too. So same configuration as closely as possible. So this thing, so we, okay, just wait. So that is known as the lift and shift. So it is basically a short term approach, because when we use the same replica, same configuration in the cloud also, it may involve to the, because say physical device is something different, but when we go for the cloud service, free service or something, then obviously if you use the same configuration, it will increase some cost. Okay, that is why we use this approach for a for a short term. Okay, so you can see, we can, like, put any, use this one mapping for on premise, that is, which is on premise, which is within the organization hardware, to similar in the cloud. And this VM, as you know, it's a virtual machine. Okay, probably I'll just this one modify it, the word. Next, moving, we are coming to,
Hello,
yes,
hello, ma'am.
yes.
So, ma'am, in lift and shift process,
Hmm.
it will not, it will not, what to say. I mean ये वो अरे जो 7 स्टेप है ना वो उसको फॉलो नहीं करेगा. It will not follow that 7 step of a
Hmm.
cloud migration that we have a model.
Okay. You see, migrating approach like these 7 steps are basically followed. Okay, but here it is different. The approaches for migration, this is apart from the 7 step model. Okay, this mapping part you studied, it falls under this one only. Okay, this re-architect, this is the broad approaches. 7 step model is now gone. It's over. These are different. These are the approaches how we follow this one. This is 7 step models, like we, to ensure that to ensure that the migration takes place in an efficient manner. So we go for the 7 step cloud migration. Okay, and this is basically like it is basically towards like a strong cloud strategy, because if you want to something um, send something to the cloud, mitigate something to the cloud, this first planning is required, right? So there, so these are the applications. What efforts are taken, like what effort should be taken, what are the right skill for the planning set. These are for this common approaches to mitigate the basically on-premise application, whatever the organization has, to put it into the private cloud or something. Okay, these are different from the
Okay.
7 step model. After, actually, I taught you the 7 step model first because that is important. After that only I moved. But actually the thing is that this first the broad approaches to mitigate these approaches should be taught first to you. This topic comes first, then the 7 step model. But since I taught you like what is cloud like migration, so basically why we go for the 7 step cloud migration, basically to like as I told you, right, cloud migration involves lot of risk are there. We'll study to the risk also. So to mitigate that like to remove those risks, to lessen the risk, to we ensure that my transferring is transferring is done in a smooth manner, we go for the 7-step model. Okay, and these are just the for building a cloud strategy. Okay, so you need a cloud strategy. So this is just the first step. The broad approaches are there. Well, what are the approaches of there? Okay. Yes, Krishna.
Yes,
Krishna.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Krishna. By the way, are you clear now about the re-architect or argument?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So moving next, we have the refactor and the re-architect. So what happens is like it refers basically to the changes made in the like source code. Every application has what is the source code? Basically whatever programming code we write in HTML, also you can check in your like whatever web pages, also you can view source code, you can check what are the coding part is there, right? So if you want to make changes in the source code, then to match like whatever the like to match the application in the cloud, so that will be more efficient, right? So such that like because if you modify the cloud there, if you modify the source code, your like application becomes more scalable. So scalable means it will be able to increase also, and it will be decrease to able to decrease also, like, and it will also becomes reusable if, without changing the functionalities. So that is why we go for for this purpose, this refactoring is also known as get something working now and like then later on perfect it. For now this let me I forgot to tell you this, for which kind of project we can go for this lift and shift. For lift and shift we use for this disaster recovery and software sorry storage infrastructure. Okay, any kind of storage infrastructure environment or disaster requirement recovery application, we go for the lift and shift approach. And for this refactor, we, since it is possible to refactor to redesign the code, modify the code, and since it becomes more scalable, that according to the environment we change the code and the design, and then later also that later on it can like add the benefit also to the cloud. So that is why it is known as refactor and re-architect. It's like something now we need it, so put it in the cloud, later we'll just modify it according to our need. So that is known as the refactor and re-architect. So where we change the functions, like we change the source code to meet the cloud requirements. Okay, so it's not like the lift and shift where exact like the configuration should be approximately same as the on-premise one. Okay, so it is different. Here we can change so that we can take advantage, and lift and shift did not take advantage of the native cloud, like whatever the advantage the cloud provides, it could not take advantage of it because it required the same configuration as the on-premise one. But for the refactor and re-architect, we can now take the advantage of it, okay, by just changing a bit in the source code, but obviously experience is needed. Okay, next last one is the shelve and spend. Okay, now this is also known as the like modernization in somewhere. So basically it is more flexible for the cloud environment, because like we can redesign the application from the beginning. We can redesign in the cloud itself. Okay, so but the when we can redesign the same system in the cloud, we don't take advantage. So what happens is it is really costly. Okay, so that is why here you can just I said like this word, this shelve and spend, this word you can find like we can also call it modernization. So that is why it mentions it allows the modernization of the business logic. Okay, so that is why what does it mean? We can change the entire code, we can recreate the code or redesign the code in the cloud itself. So that is the shelve and spend. Okay, so these are the three broad approaches. So even if something is mentioned about the three approaches, somewhere is mentioned that lift and shift, refactor, and modernization. So modernization means the shelve and spend only. I have also given like this examples which you can go through it. Okay, these are the three approaches for cloud migration. Later, we are now going to start study today risk associated with the cloud migration. So when you transfer something and some enterprise application into a cloud, so obviously lots of uh, threats are associated with it. The first one is the loss and theft of intellectual property. How people store everyone stores sensitive data in the cloud, right? So there was a survey also by the Sky found that 21% of files uploaded in the cloud are very much sensitive. In companies store that see very sensitive data. So if any policy is not if not maintained or whatever, from where the from which cloud company the company have bought that cloud, if that some policies are there, right? Some contract they sign the contract that okay, our information should not be shared or something like that. So if that contract is breached, okay, that okay, leave it with that. When that contract is breached, your sensitive data are at risk then, right? Then the cyber criminals get easily access to it. That is the security may be an issue. Your sensitive data, whatever, and see that whatever the company's sensitive data it has are very sensitive in the sense because they involve a lot of money. Okay, and it is not always possible. And when the cloud service provider, if they some, it's the companies also know cyber criminals are everywhere. Okay, some good programmers are only the cyber criminals. They can access the data easily possible. Some good some rival companies, rival organization may hire some good hackers, and what they can do, they can hack their sensitive data. To save that point, the organization should make sure that they are keeping the data properly. In that case they should. So how it happens is that if there is a problem with the cloud service provider also, then also there is problem. So proper, even we know this proper password is there. We know Google Keep is there. I don't know you have used or not Google Keep, where we store the passwords. Okay, we can store our passwords. So what happens is that if someone gives access, someone hacks your Google Keep account, so he or she, the hacker, will gain access to all your passwords. Then all your accounts these things, all your accounts may get hacked. So for us, what may be the insensitive information for an individual? The sensitive information can be anything from our photos, from our Facebook account, from our Instagram account. So everything holds some sensitive information, right? We won't like it if someone hack your Facebook account and do whatever he wants, right? So that is the thing. For companies also the same thing. So that is why there is a contract between the organization and the cloud service provider that should not be breached. Okay. Next is compliance violation and regulatory actions. So see, all the companies have some rules. Okay, so all the companies, they follow some government rules are there. So here I have mentioned some companies that HIPAA, that work for HIPPAA. So for private health commission also, sorry, information, and there is FERPA that works for confidential student records. So this is basically nothing but the name of the organization. So I just used their name. So everyone follows some regulations. Even we being a university, EDITU follows, they also have some regulations which follows the UGC guidelines and everything. So if they do not follow if we do not follow the UGC guidelines, and if any companies, if any IT companies do not follow the regulatory regulations which are given by their organization, then there will be problem. Then their data is at risk, right? So then in that case, if it does not follow, then it will come in a state of non-compliance. Okay. Next, obviously there are rules are for everyone, right? For being faculty also we have some rules, and for students also you have some rules. So if you don't follow that rules, then everything comes under this non-compliance only, violations and everything. Next is loss of control over end user actions. Now data, whatever you are using, needs to be kept properly from whenever what we do, whenever we design any company, we hand over our ID cards, all our login details to the organization. Why? Because if we don't give our login details, uh, when we resign and we don't give our these details, so that details, like that organizations, suppose I have a different login for iNurture also and ADQ also, right? So what happens is, uh, I'll contain different information. So I know the information about the iNurture also and ADQ. But what if when after I resign, I don't give my login ID, and if they don't change my password or cancel my, what happens is, I have the authority wherever I join next, I can leak the information. So that will be at risk. That the current organization where I will know that the organization which I left right now will be at risk, because all their data will get leaked. Okay, so this may not be such a sensitive information, like sensitive problem for an educational organization, but yes, for companies, for IT data, someone working in I suppose company, IBM company. Okay, so he and she have access to all the IBM information about the project they are working on, project details. At the middle of what they he leaves the person leaves the company and joins the TCS. So all, and he have access, because the data whatever was put in the cloud, he has access to it, and he gets that information and informs it to the TCS people. Obviously, they will be at gain. Okay, in that case we should not. So that is why the company should be aware of that, IBM management should be aware of where each employee is working on, what are their each employee doing. So if this thing, that is why we should have control over the end user actions, that your employees are trustworthy, right? So here also I've written given an example for the salesperson. Okay, moving next, that is the diminished customer trust. So obviously, if you face some issues with your credit card or debit card, let me tell you one incident what happened in the last year, and like in the year 2018 and 2019. What happened, SBI, this SBI bank ATM, whenever like they had some issues, internal issues, I don't know what was the problem. Like you are sitting at your account, if you have an SBI ATM card, suppose you have a debit card, and you are sitting at your home, you are working, and something, a message already pops up that your money has been deducted. Still you are not using your ATM card, but you are getting that message that your money has been deducted suddenly. Something like first 20,000 at a stretch, it will be something. From my friend it happened, she's working in like Amazon. What happens, at a within a fraction of 10 minutes or something, her account got robbed, like of 49,000 something. Okay, but she was not, and it was showing that she was buying some iTunes, but she was not doing, she was just working from home, right? So what happened was, everything got this all her money got lost. And what happened is, she thought that obviously we always think that someone has fooled her account must have hacked. But it was mentioned that all the amount was deducted using, debited using the ATM card, but the ATM card was with her only. So she was like at fault. Maybe she have gone to some shopping mall, there had she have like swapped her ATM card or something like that. So what she did, she informed the bank branches. Okay, she called the bank manager and told them about the information that what happened to her. And these people said, don't worry, this had happened to many people also, so we'll get your money back within 1 month or something. And she did get after some procedures, she did get her money back. But this kind of action, after this incident happened, she lost the trust on SBI, right? Debit card, should she what she did, she stopped keeping you stopped using a debit card, rather switch to net banking or something like that. So this kind of actions, whenever it happens, people lose their trust from the organization. Even if, see, even if like I'm talking about this 49,000, so even like the same case, this was an incident which occurred in the year 2018. The same incident occurred with my mother, with my mother also. So last year when we were in Delhi, that something, ATM card was with my father, and the an amount of 20,000 was suddenly deducted, and it was mentioned that debited from Patna branch. So how it is possible, right? Then SBI did took some measure, and that again things happen and the monies was like put into the account in the month of September. So within a like month, 8 months or 9 months. So this kind of things, obviously, what happens, like customer trust, they lose the customer trust, right? So for me, I don't like, now we don't go for this SBI because obviously the trust is diminished. Like it's your action which creates or breaks the trust. So that is the same thing. So if there is any, why does this happen? Basically, whenever we find some fault with the organization, then only we we tend to lose the target customers. So that is why, if your cloud service providers you are using, or any like the service provider, so if they leak your information, so in that case also, we and they don't provide security that okay, will protect your data, so in that case also, the customer trust is diminished. So these were all about the risk associated with the cloud migration. Any confusion left or what, everyone? Are you sleeping?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So any confusion? Any confusion? Anyone? See, I know you can't speak or something, you feel shy, but there is an option chat also, right? Yeah, you can chat. Like Gunjan is writing, no, okay. Please go through it once you go. Like now, Google. You can Google the topic also. I'll also share with you the PPT. I told you I'll share with you on Friday. Like after tomorrow's class, I'll share with you the PPT. Go through it, and if you have any confusion, I'll let me know. Just wait for some time. I'll take the attendance for today. Very few people, only 7 people. Just wait for some time. Okay, thank you everyone. So tomorrow I have a class at 9:15 probably. Actually, I got confused with today's class. Okay. Thank you everyone.